Hey everyone. So this is our last session until the dance next Thursday. So we appreciate you all for coming today. We have a guest who you might have seen before if you came to the last session. So Erin is here once again to guide us through a session on pre and post workout nutrition. So I'll take it away, Erin.
Awesome. Yeah. Hi. Thanks for having me again. I am really excited to chat with you guys about a little bit more deep diving into the nutrition side, specifically around the pre and post workout nutrition, because I know there's a lot of questions around that. How do we make sure that we're getting the most out of our training, our workouts, our exercise, and make sure that not only do we feel our best and perform our best during those things, but also feel like we can recover well after that. We feel energized throughout our days as well. So we're going to be diving into all the nitty gritty today, and there will be plenty of time for questions and stuff to go through as well. So we'll start out by talking about just the basics. There can be a lot that goes into pre and post workout nutrition, but we're going to start with just sort of the basic stuff to begin with. And number one, most importantly, is making sure you're eating enough. We talked about this in the last session as well, but this is so, so important in terms of performance nutrition, in terms of athletics, making sure we're just physically eating enough food to fuel our body, fuel our workouts is the most important thing, bar none. So I know sometimes we can get into the timing of our snacks and our meals and stuff before and after workouts. But just overall, making sure we're eating enough throughout our days is going to be the most important thing to ensure, again, that we're feeling our best. And so before we get into any nitty gritty around the timing of meals and snacks, anything like that, you can start out with just the basic foundation of if you're having a balanced meal, a couple hours beforehand, a couple hours afterwards, that's a great place to start, especially for just kind of workouts that maybe aren't really taxing, aren't super exhausting, more just kind of enjoyable movement. We don't need to worry too much about getting specific with our nutrition. And this is a really good place to start if at any point you're feeling kind of overwhelmed with your nutrition, just making sure, you're having a balanced meal sort of before and after workouts within a couple hours is a great jumping off point. And we're also going to be talking about sort of what macronutrients we want to be focusing on. So the things we're going to be talking about a lot today, we've kind of covered that foundational piece, eating enough, having that window of within a couple hours of your workout is important. But when it comes to the macronutrients, what are the things we actually want to be focusing on when it comes to pre and post workout nutrition? So we've talked about these in our last session, but I'm going to go a little bit more into specifically around the protein and the carbohydrate piece. So when we're talking about what is going to fuel our performance and also help us recover from our workouts best, protein and carbohydrates are really important. So protein is very important in terms of muscle maintenance and growth and repair. Every time we work out, we are breaking down that muscle tissue, right? And we want to make sure that our body has the building blocks to build it back up and build it back up nice and strong. So protein is really important for all of that, the maintenance, the growth and repair. And carbohydrates, this is our body's preferred source of fuel and so important for energy and endurance. We want to be able to feel alert and energized and focused throughout, sports and exercise and all this. It's also very important for muscle maintenance and growth. Our muscles love to feed on carbohydrates. So it's really important in terms of strength there too. So protein and carbohydrates are the two things that we really focus on when it comes to our pre-workout and post-workout nutrition. Now, what about fat? Because we did talk about fat in terms of an macronutrient in our last session, and fat is very important in terms of our overall diet, in terms of being able to utilize, vitamins and minerals and all these other processes in the body. It is very important, but in terms of what we're going to be talking about today, it kind of goes to the back burner a bit, making sure that you have some fat folded in throughout your day is really important. We'll talk about a little bit how to include it in your meals before and after workouts. But in terms of the performance factor, what we're talking about today, it doesn't play in as strongly. So you'll hear me talking a lot about protein and carbs today, but not as much about fat. not because fat isn't important. It absolutely is, but it's one of those things you just want to make sure you're including in your meals throughout the day. It doesn't play into the performance aspect quite as much for the terms of what we're talking about today. So we talked about the protein, the carbs. What's the other thing we really want to focus on? The hydration piece. Hydration is very important as well, making sure that we are adequately hydrated. You know, we get really sweaty, we lose that, all that moisture, that liquid from our body. We want to make sure we're replenishing it as well to feel our best. So those are kind of the basic things. We want to be making sure overall that we're just eating enough. That's really important. And a great jumping off point in terms of pre and post workout nutrition is just a couple hours before, a couple hours after. That works great. And we're going to dive in a little bit more around the protein and carbs. And if we want to get a bit more specific with what we're eating, we can go from there. So let's talk about pre-workout nutrition first. So what are we looking for before a workout? So to know and understand what we want from our nutrition, we need to look at what do we actually need for our workout. Well, we want energy and endurance. You know, we want to feel energized going in and alert, and we want to have that endurance, especially for, you know, more intense activity, longer term activity. So we want to be utilizing our nutrition for energy and endurance. We're looking for that performance boost, right? We want to be optimized and feeling like we've got that extra boost of energy so we can really tackle those workouts and those activities. Muscle maintenance. So like I said, every time we're working out really hard, we're breaking down tissue in our body, and making sure that we have the right building blocks in place to maintain our muscles is really important. And hydration, of course. We want to make sure that we are adequately hydrated before we get into a workout. So that's what we're looking for from our nutrition. What's going to provide that to us? So in terms of energy and endurance, carbs are fuel for us. Like I said, it's our body's preferred source of fuel, and carbs are a great way to make sure that we're feeling really energized going into our workout. So we want to make sure we're including some carbohydrates. Same goes for that performance boost. When we need that little extra edge, that little extra oomph, carbs are going to be able to give us that short burst of fuel that we want going into our, you know, sports, our activities, all of that. And then for the muscle maintenance piece, protein and carbs both fit the bill for that, are both going to help with that tissue repair and keeping our muscles healthy and strong. So that's what we're looking for there. And then hydration, you know, water is good. But that's basically what we're looking for. We've got the carbs and the protein there to be able to give us what we need to feel our best going into our workouts, going into our activities. So what are some options for how we can get that, how we can make sure that we're getting that protein and carbs? Well, there's a few. So like I said, just a balanced meal is a great jumping off point. Anywhere from 1 to 3 hours before can be totally fine. Making sure we're getting some protein on there, some carbohydrate, a little bit of fat in there. Just a nice balanced mix is going to have you feeling good. So that's a great jumping off point if you just want to keep it nice and simple. Having just a balanced meal 1 to 3 hours before is great. Or if you're looking to, you know, maybe your meal time doesn't line up with your workouts, or, you know, you want that little extra boost. Maybe you're doing something really intense and you know you need an extra snack or something like that. Just having a protein and carb rich snack 1 to 2 hours beforehand. Or again, if you just need that little boost, or maybe you didn't have time to eat beforehand, maybe it's first thing in the morning, just having a smaller protein carbohydrate snack, just an 0 to 60 minutes before. So kind of in that hour window, and making sure that it's nothing too big, because obviously we want some fuel, but when we eat a larger meal, we have to digest it. And if our energy is going into digestion, we won't necessarily be able to utilize that as well in workouts. And I don't know about you, but I've definitely worked out on a full stomach, not super comfortable. So we just want to make sure that we have time to adequately digest beforehand. But those are kind of our options. So basically, if your meal before an activity lines up well and that makes you feel good, then you can just stick with that. Just making sure that we're getting some protein and carbs in there, or else kind of working with some snacks in that 1 to 2 hour window as well can work great. So what are some ideas for that? So for these, I have sort of the snack ideas. So like I said, if you're just say you're doing something in the afternoon, your lunch is a couple hours beforehand, that might be plenty for you. But if you need that extra boost, or maybe you just want that that snack lines up better for you, these are some great snack ideas. So toast, like a whole grain toast, is awesome with peanut butter or some eggs. You can do scrambled eggs or hard boiled. You can do some hummus, maybe some tuna salad or chicken salad. These are all great options. We're getting the carbohydrate in the form of the toast, and then we're getting some protein in there in terms of, you know, a little bit of peanut butter or some eggs or some hummus or tuna. Those can all be sources of protein. So that's just a great little snack, and you can kind of adjust your portion sizes based on what you need, but that's nice and simple, easy to throw together. So that's a great option. A piece of fruit with some hard-boiled eggs can work great. We've got the carbohydrate in the form of our fruit and the protein in the form of our eggs. You could do some oatmeal and protein powder, like even like a quick cooking oat, like quick oats that you can just microwave really quickly, works awesome. You can stir some protein powder in there, and that's a really easily digestible snack. So that can work well. You could do a wrap with some chicken or tuna or egg salad. The wrap can serve as your carbohydrate, and then you've got your protein there. Just some deli meat and crackers. Like if you've got some deli turkey or ham and just, you know, your favorite whole grain crackers, that works great. We've got the crackers that are going to be that source of carb, and that deli meat can be a really easy, accessible protein source because you can just grab it and throw it on the crackers. You don't have to think about cooking anything, which is very convenient. Greek yogurt and granola can be great. So Greek yogurt is an awesome source of protein, and you throw a little granola on there, you're going to get that carbohydrate in there as well. You can even throw a little bit of fruit in there, maybe a pinch of cinnamon if you want to make it taste extra delicious. But that's a great way to get that snack in. Even a handful of trail mix. Maybe, you know, it's like half an hour before your activity, and you're like, oh, I know I need something, but I don't want to be feeling really full and, you know, slowed down going into my workout. Handful of trail mix is great. You know, if we've got some dried fruit or maybe like little chocolate chips or something in there, that can be some carbohydrate, and that's have a little bit of protein in there. That's a really good one if you just need something small. You don't necessarily have a lot of time maybe before your workout, but you know you need that boost. Handful of trail mix works great. Same with chocolate milk, because, you know, we've got our carbohydrates there in the form of the chocolatey sugary goodness, and some protein in the dairy as well there. So that's another good one if it's like, oh, I don't have time to eat something, or maybe I'm not hungry beforehand, I just need something quick but will give me a bit of a boost. That can work well. Same with a protein shake. You know, your favorite protein powder, you know, shaken up works really well too, just for a quick small boost. If you maybe don't want to be digesting a lot, you don't have a huge window before your activity. So those are all great options. And then we've also got a recipe here, and I can send these I can email these too. So if anybody wants to keep them, I'll send these along. But this is one of my favorite for if you want to actually make something, a pre-workout chocolate shake. This is going to hit all the boxes in terms of what we're looking for to feel really good, especially if you're going into a workout where you really want some fuel. We've got protein powder in here, frozen banana. You can add a handful of spinach if you want, but you definitely don't have to. Just a little extra boost of greens there. 1 to 2 cups of milk, just enough so you can blend it to the desired consistency. Some people like this thinner, some people might like it thicker. Same with the ice. The ice is optional. It's just if you want it to be like the texture of a chocolate milkshake, then maybe a bit of ice would make it nice and thick for you. And then if you want to sweeten it up a little bit, you can add 1 to 2 pitted dates. And dates are awesome as a quick snack before a workout as well. They're a great little source of carbohydrates if you just need a boost, especially before, you know, some like cardio type activity. Like a couple dates can be great. So this is a great recipe option if that's something you're looking for. I love this one because, like I said, it tastes like a chocolate milkshake, and you cannot go wrong with a chocolate milkshake as a snack. So this is a really good option there. And like I said, we're hitting all those boxes. We've got the protein powder. We've got the banana, which is going to be our carbohydrate. Like this is going to really fuel like a good workout. And something like this, around this size of snack, I would make sure to have this at least an hour before your workout, probably 1 to 2 hours before, because this is going to have some fiber in there. It's going to be a little bit more filling. And like I said, you definitely don't want to feel like you have a huge full tummy before you're working out, because that can be uncomfortable. But this would be a good one for 1 to 2 hours beforehand. Anything closer to an hour, something a little bit simpler, smaller would be perfect. And how you're going to fuel before your workout is really going to depend on the activity and on you and your body. You know, some people feel great having, you know, very little fuel beforehand. They really need that like after workout meal. Maybe they just have that small handful of trail mix or a really quick like protein powder shake beforehand, and that's all they want and they feel great. Some people want more. And it's also going to depend, you know, are you just doing a quick, you know, like moderate sort of workout, nothing too intense, or are you doing something, you know, heavy and tough, something that's going to be long, something where you're going to be sweating a lot? Like, what kind of activities are you doing? Are you strength training? Are you doing cardio conditioning? Are you doing an athletic sport where you're going to be, you know, on the field or playing hard for a while? These are all the things we want to consider. And it's really just getting in touch with what feels best for you and your body. So just start paying attention, you know, okay, maybe one day this week, you just stick to your regular meal routine and just pay attention to how that feels your workout. And then maybe another day you add in a snack an hour beforehand and see how does that change things up? How does that affect your performance? How you're feeling during and after your exercise? So just play around with the timing that works for you. It isn't a one size fits all approach, other than just keeping in mind that the bigger the meal, the more time you will need to digest. So that's the only thing. But there is no, you know, oh, this is the right and wrong way to fuel. As long as we're getting some protein and carbohydrates in there beforehand, then you're probably going to have what you need, even if it's, you know, a longer window beforehand or maybe something shorter. And if you are somebody who, you know, maybe works out first thing in the morning and you aren't hungry at all for anything and you feel great not having anything before your workout, then that's totally fine too. If you do want to experiment with just trying a little bit of something, like half a banana or a small glass of chocolate milk or something like that, just to see if it does make a difference for you. But definitely don't feel like you have to force food down if you feel like your morning workout is totally fine just as it is. So that is pre-workout nutrition. Does anybody have any questions about any of this?
We did have a question in the chat. If what would you put in your trail mix? And then if you can't have a lot of dairy products, can you use juice in your smoothie or shake instead of milk?
Yeah, so for the trail mix, anything that's kind of a balance of just your favorite nuts, like I love almonds, I love cashews, I love walnuts, pecans, seeds are great too, like pumpkin seeds are awesome, sunflower seeds. So like whatever your favorite sort of nut mix is great. And then just like a little bit of dried fruit or even, you know, mini dark chocolate chips, something like that is great. So that would be kind of the mix I would stick to. And then if you're making your own mix, say you're using like just some raw nuts and a little bit of dried fruit and stuff, you can even add a pinch of sea salt if you want. That can help with electrolytes too. And then in terms of the dairy, so you can use a non-dairy milk, like an almond milk would work really well, or like a coconut milk, any of those sort of the plant-based milks. And oat milk would work really well. Depending on what you're making, you could use like a water or a juice. I wouldn't with the smoothie we just talked about, just because the flavor might be a little bit off with that one. For that recipe, I would use like a plant-based milk. So like I said, an almond milk, an oat milk, a soy milk, something like that would work well.
Nice. And then we did have a couple hands up. So Lori, go ahead.
All right. Hey, Erin, I took your advice. I went out and got oat milk. Oh my God. I absolutely got hooked on it. Now I really want to get it because now I'm having a lot of trouble right now because during my programs, Wednesdays are supposed to be my cheat day, but how do I program my brain into like sticking to making lunches and only lunches?
So what are you doing right now? Like, what's the thing you're doing that you don't want to be doing?
So I started out making my lunches, but then today my staff forgot her lunch. So she's like, oh, I need to buy my lunch. So I was like, okay, let's go to the chopped leaf. And I love it there, but I I had a lunch packed, but then I get tempted.
Gotcha. So you want to be eating what you've made and not going out for lunch.
Yeah, I want to stick to what I brought from home and prove to my mom that and my dad that I can do this.
Yeah. So with that, it really is just, it's a habit you can build. So, if you're doing it, like how often are you trying to eat lunch every day at work right now, or like a few days a week?
My step sometimes brings her lunch, but then today she forgot her lunch. So then I'm like, oh no, here comes the eating out.
Yeah. So I would just practice it as a habit you're building. So when you have the invitation to go for lunch, really just taking a second to be like, okay, well, I have this lunch that I've made. I can have that. Is that the habit I want to be building right now? And just kind of sometimes it's just as much as like just taking a pause just to say, okay, well, I did make my lunch. Just for today, I'm going to choose that. Sometimes we get in the headspace of, if I choose to eat the lunch I made, I have to do it forever and I'll never get to eat out again, right? Like our brains are sometimes funny like that. Our brains are like, oh my gosh, now I have to stick to this forever and I'll never get to eat out. And I think what's important is that we have some space to do the things we love. Like we have some space to be able to eat out, especially when it's things like chopped leaf that, are delicious and full of vegetables.
Oh,
That's
I
awesome.
love that place.
So I think just for you, it's just treating it more as like something like, well, what do I just want to choose for today? And I can always choose to go out again tomorrow if I want, but I'd really like to prove to myself I can have that lunch today. And then just take it a day at a time and give yourself space to have some wiggle room too. Like say, okay, I'm going to have, my homemade lunch 3 times a week or 4 times a week, and then have the space for some wiggle room. And then that way, on the days where it's like, oh, she's going out, I want to go out, but it's like, you know what? I can go out another day. I'm going to have the lunch that I had today. So it's just giving yourself some wiggle room so that it doesn't feel as hard to choose the thing you would like to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that is, because she wants to. So if I bring my lunch, she orders skip the dishes. I'm like, are you kidding me? Plus she's gonna have a baby in May. And I'm like, I'm gonna watch you. So if I bring my lunch, you bring your lunch.
Yeah.
So
And like
it's not tempting.
Yeah, you can make it like your accountability buddy, right? Like,
yeah,
we're gonna bring our lunches together.
Go to Mary Brown's, and I said, you know what? Absolutely not. That's grease.
And that's great. You chose an option that feels better for you. So I'd say that's a really good compromise.
Yep.
Awesome. Thanks, Lori.
You're welcome.
Erin, do you want to go to a couple more questions or do you want to keep going? Or
okay, we can do a couple more.
All right. Jordan McLeod.
Okay. So my question is tonight was with the before a workout like swimming and stuff, I do have my dinner before I head off to practice, but is a chocolate substitute, is that a little bit healthier before a swim practice?
If you feel good after like if right now what you're doing, like you have your dinner and you go to practice and you feel good, then I would keep just doing what you're doing. I wouldn't complicate it. I would say that as long as you're having something that makes you feel good going into practice and feel like you have energy, then I think that's perfect.
Okay, one last question though. With hot dogs, what can I do if I so because I'm a big fan of hot dogs, and I have a friend and she's kind of helping me, and she says to lay off hot dogs, but because hot dogs are like protein and we can't cut out protein in our bodies. So what is a good choice what is a good choice of having something like on the side of a hot dog or without a hot dog otherwise?
So like a good side for hot dogs, like if you could include like some like a salad, like some vegetables, something like that, that would be
Yeah.
a great option to kind of find some balance there. And then were you asking if something instead of a hot dog?
Yes, like something a healthier option.
So you could do, I mean, any protein could really work. You can, it's kind of interesting now. You can even find like turkey smokies and stuff that are still kind of, you know, in the hot dog family, but maybe just a little bit simpler in terms of ingredients, and you're still getting lots of protein there. So like a turkey smoky would be great, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Jordan. Brittany.
Hi, Erin. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I have a question. I work out every Monday and Wednesday at the gym, but I find I overdo it a lot.
Okay.
And I want to know what strategies I can use that so I don't overdo it.
So when you say overdo it, do you mean like you push yourself too hard, like you feel exhausted after?
I feel exhausted and I get a sore back after.
Okay, so this is really like it's a mental game more than a physical game, right? Because I've definitely been there. You know, when we're in the zone, we just want to like crush it
That's
out.
the way I was feeling today. Like I was just right into it, and then after I was like, oh my gosh, I'm beat.
Totally. So are you having anything before, like are you eating at all before your workouts?
Well, we go in the morning, so either I'll have my protein shake early in the morning or my pre-workout.
Okay. So
So
that's great. I was just going to make sure you're having some fuel to, if you're, especially if you're pushing hard, having some fuel is important. You could even add like a little bit of banana to that, just like a little bit of carbohydrate could be helpful, so that if you are pushing, your body has something to utilize. So maybe you don't feel so tired afterwards. And then also just through the workout, just kind of reminding yourself every so often just to check in, like, do I just need to take a little break here? Sometimes it isn't even that, because it can feel really good to push ourselves sometimes, right? But it's more just allowing ourselves a little bit of space, like push really hard and then just take a break and check in. Am I pushing too hard right now? Should I slow down for a second? And just kind of taking that kind of space. But like I said, it's sometimes just a mental game of being like, I know this feels good, but I know I need to slow down a bit. That's plus a little extra fuel.
I was getting back into my workout today because I haven't worked out for a while because I just recently got a tattoo.
Okay.
And
awesome.
I was just getting back in my workout and I was just right into it. And I was like, oh, I'm going to do this. And the next, you know, I'm just like, I overdid it.
Yeah, oh, for sure. And it happens. It's not anything to worry too much about. Just making sure that you are having some food afterwards if you're feeling really depleted. And we're going to talk about the post-workout here, but making sure that if you are feeling really tired, you're replenishing that.
Yeah. We usually have lunch right after. So like
Good.
I get like protein and probably some veggies and fruit after.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks, Brittany.
All right, we will keep going through here. So that's the pre-workout nutrition. So let's talk about post-workout nutrition. What should we do afterwards? And I would almost say that post-workout nutrition is more important than pre-workout nutrition. Pre-workout nutrition can be, like I said, it's important to think about the protein, the carbohydrate component, but what matters most is just that you have the energy to get through your workout and that you're feeling energized throughout. So that can vary a lot between, you know, some people feel, you know, great just not having anything and going right into their day. Some people have a little snack, but there's a lot of variability. But our post-workout nutrition is really, really important because it's really going to impact our recovery and how we feel going into our next workout, how we feel going into the next activity. That's really, really important and can really be impacted by this. So what are we looking for after a workout in terms of our nutrition, our fuel. What do we need to get out of it? We need that replenishment. This is so important because we are depleting our glycogen stores, which is basically our body's fuel stores, especially if we're doing high impact activity, a lot of endurance activity. We are depleting those stores and we need to refill them, or else we're going to feel really exhausted, really depleted after. And that can also affect subsequent workouts and subsequent activities. We're also looking for repair. So again, our tissue, our muscle gets broken down, especially when we're strength training, doing anything like that. We want to make sure that we are rebuilding those tissues so that they're coming back nice and strong and healthy. That recovery piece, just feeling like we have energy to get through, the rest of our day and not feel totally exhausted after, or, just feeling like we have something in the tank again. Sometimes we can feel really exhausted or like we're bottoming out after a workout. So just having that recovery piece, making sure that we're feeling good afterwards. And again, going forward into the rest of our week, because workouts, they take a lot from us sometimes. So we need that. And again, hydration, so important always. So what things are going to provide those or are going to hit those key points for us? So again, we're coming back to the carbs and protein, the replenishment piece. Carbs and protein are both going to provide that in terms of replenishing our glycogen stores. That's our body's fuel stores. Carbs are going to do that. Protein is going to help with that as well. Same for the repair and recovery pieces. Protein is really important, especially if we are doing any high impact activity, any strength training, like weightlifting, anything that, makes us feel really sore after and the next day. Protein is really important to help rebuild those tissues back nice and strong and make us perform better and better as we go, and we can see that progress. So again, the carbs and the protein are going to be really important here. And hydration. So in terms of just, a shorter workout, something that isn't too sweaty, too intense, regular water is fine. But if you are doing anything really high impact where you're sweating a ton, anything over 45 minutes, you're going to want to think about electrolytes as well. So that's sodium and potassium, because when we sweat, we aren't just losing fluids, we are losing those minerals as well. And that can make us feel really off and feel really tired and not great after. So if we're doing anything that is longer than 45 minutes or a really sweaty, high impact, we might just want to look at something a little bit more than water, something like a Gatorade, or we can also do coconut water. Coconut water is like nature's Gatorade. It's got electrolytes in there. You can even add like a little pinch of salt if you feel like you need that sodium boost. But that's going to be a great option if you're looking for a more natural sort of Gatorade or sports drink and you're doing really high impact activity, really sweaty activity, anything over 45 minutes. A coconut water could be great for the hydration aspect and making sure we're feeling good. So our options for post-workout nutrition. So you can have, again, just a balanced meal 1 to 2 hours after exercise, like anywhere in the window after exercise. So, like you were saying, after your workout, you go right into lunch. That's perfect. That works great. It's refueling, especially if we're making sure we have that protein and carbohydrate in there. A nice balanced meal right after your workout or anywhere up to 2 hours is great. Or if you aren't going to be eating a meal afterwards, maybe your activity is in the evening, so you don't have dinner coming afterwards, or you just don't have a meal coming up for a while, making sure to get a snack in is really important. Somewhere in the 1 to 2 hour, or anywhere from right after your workout to 2 hours after your workout, is going to make sure that you are feeling good and sort of replenished going into the rest of your day. So if you don't have a meal coming up anytime in the next 2 hours after your workout, just making sure that you do have some sort of little snack, and we're going to go through some examples here, is going to be really helpful for that repair and recovery piece. So what are some good ideas for our post-workout snacks? So if you're not having a meal, you want something quick and easy, a protein shake with a banana can work great. We've got our protein there and our carbohydrate in the form of banana. You can do a protein bar, like a store-bought protein bar is totally fine. You just want to look for one that has at least 15 grams of protein in it. Sometimes protein bars, they say protein bars, they don't actually have a lot of protein in them. So just make sure you're looking for one that has at least 15 grams of protein in it. So it's actually giving you a bit of a boost there. Again, Greek yogurt is an awesome option with some fruit and granola. You could do a sandwich. Make sure you get some deli meat or something in there, like a tuna salad, chicken salad, just some protein in there as well. And then the bread is going to give you that carbohydrate boost. You could do an omelet. Maybe you want to have a breakfast option. So some eggs, an omelet with toast would be a great option. You could also do a bagel topped with some tuna or chicken salad. You could do hummus with crackers. That's a nice, easy snack. Say, you just want something quick and light and just to tide you over until your next meal. Hummus with crackers is great. Sushi is a great option if you like sushi and want to grab some takeout on your way home or something like that, because we can get some fish in there, like some tuna, some salmon, something like that. So making sure you're choosing something that does have some protein in there, some seafood. And then you've got the rice, carbohydrate. Perfect. Nice, easy grab and go option. Chicken and rice, really simple. Like basically any protein and some starch. So like some rice or some potatoes or a little bit of pasta or just anything along those lines is going to work well. You've got your protein and your carbohydrate there. And again, chocolate milk works great too. We've got some protein and carbohydrates there. And that can be a great one too. If you just need something little, maybe you don't have a meal coming up later, or maybe you're going to bed shortly after your workout. So just something like that, just to give your body a little bit of fuel so you aren't totally running on empty before you go to bed. That could be a great option as well. And then I've got another recipe for you. So this is another smoothie, but this one's an oatmeal cookie smoothie. I like smoothies that taste like dessert. I think when our snacks can taste like dessert, that's way better. So this one's great because it's got lots of stuff in it that's really going to replenish. I really like this smoothie for after like a really intense activity. So like if you're playing, playing soccer or basketball, volleyball, like you're playing sports, this is great after any sort of sport activity. This is great after a really heavy workout, especially heavy weight training. This is going to give your body everything it needs to really replenish all those stores and make sure your muscles, your glycogen, all those things are being replenished. So this has a third a cup of oats, 2 tablespoons of almond or peanut butter. You could use whatever nut butter you want in that. A scoop of vanilla protein powder. Obviously, that's going to be a great dose of protein for us. A frozen banana, a cup milk of choice. So you can use dairy milk or non-dairy milk. Again, like an almond milk and oat milk, things like that work great. A pinch of sea salt. We're getting a little bit of electrolytes in there. We've got half a teaspoon of cinnamon. This is just going to taste delicious. And cinnamon's also really good for our blood sugar balance as well. It's a great option to add into our diet. And then some ice cubes, just if you want to thicken it up a little bit. So again, if you want this to be like a milkshake, you could just adjust the amount of liquid and ice you're using to make sure it's really nice and thick, or you can thin it out as well. But this is going to be filling. Like I find this one is like a meal afterwards. So I wouldn't have this if you're then going to, in an hour going to have lunch. You're probably going to be way too full from this. This one's quite filling, and this can be a good one that will tide you over for a few hours afterwards because it's got lots of stuff, and we've got that carbohydrate in there, and especially with the oats, because those oats are going to be a little bit slower digesting. So it's really going to fill you up and really give you a little bit more energy. So this would be a great one. Say you had an early morning workout and then had to kind of go into the rest of your day. You weren't going to be having lunch for a while. This would be a great option for that because it's definitely going to fill you up. So in general with, that should say post-workout nutrition, but if you don't want much food, if you aren't very hungry after a workout, just focus on something easily digestible, like a simple protein shake, banana, something just really simple. It doesn't have to be huge, but just get some sort of protein and carbs in just so that you don't feel terrible or really depleted afterwards. Don't feel like you have to force food down. I know sometimes after activity, we don't have a huge appetite, especially during certain kinds of workouts. We don't feel super hungry afterwards, but just something small. And again, you've got up to, like, you can wait a little bit. You don't have to eat immediately afterwards if that doesn't feel good. You can wait a couple hours, but just sometime in the couple hours after your workout, getting something in is just going to make you feel a lot better, and it's going to make your body feel and perform a lot better as well. And again, just like with our pre-workout nutrition, different activities may change how you refuel. Like a strength training workout, afterwards, you might really want to focus on a protein snack, whereas like an endurance training, you might be really focused on like, oh, I need some carbs and some hydration here, especially if you're doing something longer and really sweaty. So again, just paying attention to how you're feeling and playing with some of those snack ideas, some of those snack options, and just see how they make you feel. You know, some things might feel really great after certain workouts, and sometimes you might just be like, oh, I'm good to just wait until my meal, and that's fine. So play around with it and see what feels best for you, not only that day, but see how you're feeling in your other workouts. Sometimes we can feel good, you know, and like, oh, it's fine, whatever, I don't need it. And we feel okay that day, but it does add up over time. Again, the most important part with our athletic nutrition is to make sure that we're eating enough. And so, you know, you may notice if you aren't getting in a little bit of something after your workout within a couple hours afterwards, that over time your workouts might not feel as good. You might find that you're sore or are not recovering as quickly afterwards. So it's just important to pay attention to how your body's feeling and experiment with what's feeling good. Again, just like with pre-workout nutrition, there's no one size fits all. It's about finding what's going to feel good for you and just kind of hitting those boxes of protein and carbohydrates in a way that makes sense for you and your schedule and your body. So that's the post-workout nutrition piece. Does anybody have any questions with that? And actually, that's where I'm at my questions point. So we have time for lots of questions.
Awesome. Yeah, we got a lot of questions. So Carla, go ahead.
Hi, Erin.
Hi.
My question for tonight is how much veggie could I eat for the rest of the day?
How many veggies, like after your workout?
Yeah.
Yeah, as many as you would like to. Like veggies are awesome, and getting them in is great for your body. So yeah, as many as you would like to.
And also, what can I eat for breakfast? I've been drinking protein shakes from Co-op. Like this protein shake is really it's really thick in it, and it makes me like it's telling me I get full after I have a protein shake and with the fruit and yeah.
If you feel good and full after your protein shake, I think that's a perfect breakfast, especially with some fruit in there. I think that's a great breakfast. I think that's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Carla. Jordan Tyson.
So for smoothies, my dad used to make smoothies. They put fruit in it. So when we exercise more before lunch, we do make sandwiches for healthy carbs. And so I always like to make these shakes is apples and spinach for a healthy drink.
Yeah, that sounds great. Those are both good options. Either the fruit and the smoothies or the sandwiches. Those are both great options.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you, Jordan, for sharing.
You're welcome.
All right, Michelle, go ahead.
What are carbohydrates?
Carbohydrates. So they are a macronutrient. It's a chain of carbon. If we're getting into the I guess biology of it, but they're macronutrients. It's our body's preferred source of fuel and something we need, which means we need a lot of it, like the macronutrients, so protein, fat, and carbohydrates. Macro means our body needs lots of it to feel good. So carbohydrates, we find them, in grains and fruits, and there's sugars. It's basically a form of a sugar chain. That's what a carbohydrate is. But yeah, we find them in all sorts of good stuff. The grains, the legumes. We can find them in some nuts and seeds, fruits, pastas, candy. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Michelle. Our next question is from Miranda.
Hi, Erin.
Hi.
I have a question for you. I was on my feet all day today, so what's a good workout? What's a good food I can eat after? Because I'm feeling really, really tired right now.
Yeah, so something just like a nice balance would be good. Kind of we were talking about, that protein and carbohydrates is great. But also, if you're just kind of tired after a long day, you need a meal, like having some fat in there is good too. Something nice and balanced. Some carbohydrates are going to be nice in terms of sort of just making you feel a little bit more replenished, but having some protein in there too is going to be important to make sure that you actually feel really satisfied afterwards.
Okay,
so kind
because
of
I just
similar principles to what we talked about with the post-workout.
Because I just had asparagus, brown rice, and some pork. So what would be like a good snack to have later?
If you're hungry later, so usually for like an evening snack, I like to focus on something with some protein in it, something easily digestible, just because it depends on how hungry you actually are, but protein's actually going to fill us up. Sometimes we get a little hungry at night and we'll snack on things that maybe don't actually fill us up. But some protein actually will. So like a little bit of Greek yogurt with some fruit is nice. But if you're looking even just for something maybe a little bit more to just munch on, some nice popcorn is good too. If you're just looking for something like light and simple, that works too.
So would crackers be a good choice, like whole wheat crackers?
Yeah, like a handful of crackers works great.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Miranda. Our next question is from Leonka.
Hello, Erin.
Hi.
Is apples and bananas and other fruit good with peanut butter or Nutella?
Yes, absolutely. The peanut butter is going to be a little bit better just because it has some protein in it. Nutella is delicious though. But peanut butter will just offer a little bit more in terms of the protein piece. But yes, that's a great option.
All right. Thank you very much. And
You're welcome.
thank you very much for this great session. I quite enjoyed it. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad it was helpful.
Thank you.
Thanks, Leonka. Erin, do you have time for some more? A couple more? Or?
Absolutely, yeah.
Awesome. Darby, do you have a question?
Thank you for this session, and I also love all of these options. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad that they're helpful. Sometimes it can be good to see some examples, hey?
Awesome. Thanks, Darby. Sarah.
Okay. For one of the smoothies, if you don't have frozen bananas, can you use just regular bananas?
Yeah, so you can definitely use just regular banana. The frozen will just give it more of like the milkshake kind of texture,
Okay.
But it still tastes really good with banana, like just regular banana. If you wanted it to be really cold and a little thicker, just add some more ice.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I see two more here. So we'll go back to Jordan McLeod.
Okay, so I work out like mostly every mornings with 3 girls, and because when I wake up late and I'm having breakfast or anything, is I don't know how long for that to digest, but is it okay to have a snack before a workout?
Yes, definitely. As long as you don't feel like as long as it doesn't make you feel bad during the workout. So as long as your stomach doesn't feel too full and you don't feel nauseous or anything during a workout, yeah, it's totally fine to have.
Yeah, because when I wake up every morning, I have a doctor that suggests protein at night and protein in the morning. Because I sometimes get dizzy when I don't eat anything. So do you know what's highly recommend for me to not be dizzy every morning?
Yeah, that sounds good. Like the protein at night and in the morning is a good idea, and making sure that you get some sort of snack before your workout, and maybe even adding in the carbohydrate, like a piece of fruit or something, that'll help as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Thanks again, Jordan. I'm just going to let everyone know, just in case anyone has to leave, we'll do another question, but your passcode for tonight is EEL if you do have to go. So EEL. I'll write it in the chat for you guys, but we will go to Danielle had another question.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, and I'm just wondering, what is the best snack before bed and what is a good dessert to have like after dinner?
Yeah, so for a nighttime snack, I like to focus on something that's going to be like filling but not too heavy, because that's the thing we just want to consider. Is it going to make us is it going to interrupt our sleep? So I usually like to focus on something with some protein, just because some protein is going to fill, like if we're actually hungry in the evening, a little bit of protein can help actually, fill us up, make us feel a little bit more satisfied. So something like a Greek yogurt, like I said, can be nice with some fruit and a little bit of granola even. That can be nice and easily digestible, but also satisfying. Again, I love popcorn as an evening snack if you're just looking for something to munch on, because it's a little bit lighter. Basically focusing on anything that doesn't disturb your sleep. The one thing that I tend to recommend avoiding is anything really, really high in fat, so lots of nuts, things like that, just because it can interrupt our sleep cycle a little bit. Not because there's anything wrong with nuts or anything like that, but just late at night it can interrupt. But anything with that little bit of protein, or just something a little bit lighter, like a popcorn option, is great. Some fruit is great if you like something sweet. I even really like dates, medjool dates. You take out the pit and you can put a little bit of peanut butter or something in there. It's so good. So that's a good little snack too.
And what about for dessert, like after supper?
So that little date thing I just mentioned would be a great dessert, because it's sweet and delicious, but it also does, give us some nutrition, which is fun. Even some chocolate is really nice. It's actually really normal to crave something sweet at the end of a meal, even if our meal is really filling, because it's like a palate cleanser. It basically, the taste of something sweet tells our brain that the meal is complete. So even a piece of chocolate, a date, something, just a little sweetness is a perfect dessert, because it not only tastes really good, but it also lets our brain know, oh, the meal's done. It feels really satisfying to our brains.
You read my mind there with the sweet, because that's how I feel after dinner.
Yes, yeah, that's really, a lot of us feel that way. I definitely have chocolate after dinner every day.
Thank you for a great session again.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
All right, thanks, Danielle. I see one more hand up. We'll go to the last question, and then we'll get you guys out of here. So, Brittany.
Would for a nighttime snack, would banana and peanut butter be a good nighttime snack, because it has protein and stuff before going to bed?
Totally. Yeah, that would be a great snack. And for you don't have to have something super protein rich before bed. It doesn't need to be a protein shake or something like that. I just mentioned the protein piece because if we are a little bit hungry, it'll just fill us up quicker. That's the reason. But yeah.
I tried to have like protein before I go to bed instead of carbs because I know I'll get hungry in the night and want to go eat.
Yes, exactly. And that's why protein is just helpful. It's the most satisfying of all like the macros, but any sort of nighttime snack that feels satisfying without making you feel like, oh, now I'm not going to sleep good because I'm so full is good.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Thanks, Brittany. So we just want to say a huge thank you to Erin for joining us tonight. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night. We'll see you at the dance next Thursday, okay? Have a great night.